huge support for Prototype. They work so well together, and definitely no other support to be with him. Jess is taking harass from the hits up. Q level up for Gate, so he's going to keep doing that from long range. Jess is at 22 to 19, so he's not doing too bad on the CS there. Like we said, he was excited to get that matchup on screen. We'll see now, excited for the gank. Shorter Ace in the bottom lane, gets that slowdown, and it's going to be denied, actually. Sheep forced a flash. I thought that hit Mash, but it actually blasted Sheep, and he was slowed down. Mash's spell shield not doing too much there.
Yeah, if Prototype really wanted to get aggressive, he could have flashed for that one. He may have ended up trading kills back, but I think he could have secured the kill. He chose not to because, honestly, since they burned Sheep's flash now, they can get that kill whenever they want. Nunu would just have to flash Snowball coming in through the lane, and they're going to be able to repeat that kill, which basically, if Sheep respects that, will basically have to just give the lane back to Final 5. He can't get farther up, which would leave Mash alone, which allows Prototype to free farm. It all depends on whether or not he's willing to take the risk of still playing in a forward position on Thresh. That is a very critical flash burn.
It just keeps getting more difficult. Prototype is really putting down his aggression in that bottom lane. Shorter Ace offering a bit of help there, as we saw. Jess is not having too much fun in mid in the HP zone. Looks like Gates kind of just taunting him here with half auto attacks. Knows he has the upper hand. He's going to try to get this wave to crash into the turret. 5 to 4 as he's denying Mystic shots to the CS, so he's really giving him some trouble here.
I want to see how this lane continues to progress. Obviously, Jess's took a lot of harass early on, but with this massive wave that just arrived at the turret, if we are to sum the CS, Jess's is winning by a very small amount. And based on the early harass and control that Azir, in my opinion, can have in the lane, it's actually not going that poorly for Jess's. I think that lane will end up being turned pretty much by jungle ganks, just since Ezreal is very non-committal in lane. If he wants to be. As long as he's farming, he's doing okay.
Stay super safe. Once you get that Frost or Iceborne Gauntlet, you just slow people down for the engage from Maokai and
it depends if he decides to go that way. I've actually seen a lot of Ezreal's just do that tier into a Trinity Force. It started happening in OGN, and it's been happening very frequently here as well. That can go either for the Iceborne build, or he could just end up going Muramana and a Trinity Force.
Shorter Ace making his way in. Does have that Raptor smite. Looks like he doesn't get too much for himself. And he's going to be making his way out. Easy peasy. Nice little invade there. Making it safe. He's not going to find Impaler, who actually just walks in the same spot now. They could be meeting each other here in the bottom lane as we see a bit of a rotation towards the bottom. Looks like it's just going to be a quick ward towards Dragon. Impaler and Sheep all hover. They just make sure that Nunu wasn't trying to get an early Dragon off.
You can see Final 5 wants to make something happen here. Despite having the flash burned on Sheep, I do have to commend Mash on Sivir here, keeping the CS even, if not in his favor. 50 to 44, not to mention the Targon stacks that Sheep has managed to execute, giving them a slight goal lead in that lane.
Has been playing it well, forced to be pretty much low on mana here the entire time. He doesn't have too much that he's going to be spell shielding, and Rule 18 doesn't want to deliver that mana back to him. So they're doing a great job at making sure he's having a hard time farming. Still 3 CS up now. Sheep doesn't want anything, like you said earlier, staying on the front line is too much damage. And bouncing blades, just bouncing boomerang. What's it called now? Ricochet. There you go.
Yeah, sorry, man.
All these changes. No. Don't be sorry, Jack. 7.5 minutes in, still safety in the bottom lane. I figured Sheep would have gone down since the flash was there. We got about a minute left onto that. No pressure from Shorter Ace after the first gank. He's just letting everything be safe. And he's not really giving Impaler too much trouble, so he's going to be safe to 6 as well from Warwick.
It does seem like a little bit of a missed opportunity so far from Shorter Ace. And if I look at his skill order, he is splitting hairs between Consume and Ice Blast, so he's not exactly the full counter jungle Nunu, but 2 points in each. Still just farming up. I mean, I think he's probably just waiting until he gets an early Sightstone, and then he can really start trying to exert some pressure, because unless... So he did counter jungle Impaler early on. Warwick got to 6 just fine. Final 5's lanes weren't necessarily aggressive enough to punish having a Warwick jungle. So unless he can get a Sightstone out and very heavily track the movements of Warwick while not dying to the super potent Warwick ultimate, then the Nunu pick has so far been a failure. There's also a chance that it will work in team fights because of the exceptional peel it would add on top of the Janna to protect the Vayne and give the Blood Boil and the objective control. That's basically all he has left to become successful, because Impaler got to his Devour and Smite, Skirmisher, Saber enchantment
Yeah, he's already
really
up.
early.
850, so just about 9 minutes in the game there for him. He is level 6 and he's ready to get that ultimate out now. Let's see what is happening on the other side. Shorter Rays does have that, but he probably won't be in the same spot as this first ultimate activation. Looks like that might be bottom lane. Go ahead, getting the Gromp over to Impaler, and they're going to head to the bottom lane. Power in 3s here, and they might just get a nice Lantern toss into that Infinite Duress.
So Janna is pretty good at disrupting a Warwick.
That's true.
They'll still get the damage off from the ultimate, but they can peel him very well after the fight. So a lot of caution needs to be exercised in these lanes now that Warwick is level 6, 7 actually, with the ultimate up.
Teleports are up for the top lane as well. Rux has a nice push on the lane. It'd be an advantage for him if there were a fight down here. Chris and him are both level 8. And
That's
there's
a great
the hook
hook.
on. Not seeing any teleports just yet. The Monsoon goes out. Short Ray's trying to make his way in. A nice absolute 0. And it looks like Prototype is forced to the brush. He will be able to take down Impaler. A few more Silver Bolts, picking that kill up. We've already seen the one go down. And that was going to be Rule 18 first. Nice play back and forth, 1 for 1.
Really interesting right there. They ended up blowing the Janna ultimate on the Lantern, and the Pillar flash ulted back in. Gate, though, trying to take advantage of all the action bottom lane.
Ooh, going in very hard. Takes down
Oh,
mid-turret.
no.
Whoa, Prototype getting caught out there. A little antsy in the pantsy. Gets teleported down by Chris, and they're able to take that kill very easily. So they get a little bit of gold off of what he just got for himself. Heads back, buys that BF sword and a pickaxe. So he'll come back to lane a lot stronger than Mash, but Mash may still be able to poke out with that boomerang if he can hit the right shots.
Yeah, I would say total greed there by Prototype,
Oh, absolutely.
because they knew he had teleported down to the bottom lane previously, but the action will continue. Shorter Race, he just wants to kill Mash.
Oh, Mash definitely
he's gonna
going
get
down. Walks right into the turret. That red buff's actually going to go over to Rule, so it'll make the bottom lane a little bit more of a pain in the butt for Mash and Sheep. And it looks like Final 5 is starting to take control of the map quite a bit here. True Shot Barrage to give the middle lane some breathing room. They just go ahead and set up the Azir turret. Gate gets out of there alive. It looks like they may start to set up this dragon a little bit low, but looks like they have the time to do it anyway.
Yeah, I have to say Gate's presence in the mid lane on Azir has been absolutely exceptional.
Yeah.
I thought Jesses would be able to poke him down and farm
yeah.
just fine, which I think his farm has been alright, but he just hasn't been able to deal with the endless shoving of the lane, and losing that turret early is a pretty big deal since it also cascaded into that dragon since they just had no map pressure. Good job by Final 5.
Definitely pulling out the stops here to begin the game. Morello Namicon finished up from Gate as the pushing helped in mid lane. 102 to 92 there. Chris going to do what he can to start putting some damage on this top. His teleport's down, so he'll be hanging out with his roots in the top lane for quite a while. All that hasn't changed the gold too much, but those stats of attack do go over to Final 5 now, so we'll see if they try to use anything with that advantage. One turret down on each side. That was just Azir's going down in mid. There's on the hunt in the bottom lane. Very nice disengage. They can't get anything. That was Infinite Duress that was about to be used. Every minute they want to get down there and keep it going.
Yeah, that's basically Coast's plan. You first pick the Vayne. We're going to use Warwick pretty much every gank down to the bottom lane. They don't care about killing a Scion with the Maokai. Those guys are just going to slap each other basically the whole game until they decide for later team fights. But very impressive peeling there by Rule 18. Able to stop the Lantern on the hunt gank without using Monsoon is impressive in itself.
Rux trying to get some swings in onto Chris once he gets him stunned up. Looks like that lane's going pretty much in his favor. Chris rather doing a great job of keeping his CS up though. Doesn't have too much to push Scion out of lane, but him himself trying to heal up just off of the abilities in his passive. And he's done a great job. Both teleports are blown, so we won't see any action from those guys in the top lane anytime soon, but it looks like they're trying to create their own with that teleport being down. Good move. I like it. Could have been a twisted advance, but they play it safe here, and they're actually going to wait to get that Infinite Rest down the way they want it.
Yeah, Rux's spidey sense was tingling there, though. When Chris so freely attacked that ward, despite being lower in health and would lose a 1v1 all in, you'd think Rux would be able to see him, but then he just forgets about it and Pella goes in.
He's like, that wasn't safe, but I'll keep going in. Rux gets himself out on that one. The ultimate is down. He used it to kind of pop up the fight there, so it's not his escape on this one. Can't use it. Emperor's Divide not up. No, it is actually up, but Gate decides not to use the ultimate, and he just puts a little extra damage down. So you can see now, Final 5, the pressure around the map is theirs first every time.
Yeah, Gate would have had to get very dangerous positions in order to use that Emperor's Divide, and the kill would not have been guaranteed since Rux was so low. But at the same time, they end up getting pressure out of that. Rux, with his stubbornness in that lane, was able to withstand yet another Warwick gank. That's kind of, I'd say, 1 for 2 for Impaler, since he did get a kill on the gank in the bottom lane. But it's very important to track the efficiency of those Warwick ganks to see if he will be useful late game.
Just missing over the shoulder of Prototype. That's what they wanted. Howling Gale just missing the backside of Sheep. He gets himself out alive. And it looks like both use the ultimates. On the Hunt was also used by Mashme. He's about the same amount of mana here as Prototype, so they can't really deliver too much damage as this fight continues. And they're just going to farm it out. Blue buff going over to Gate. He's been doing well in mid lane, and this whole weekend, I like these games because a lot of the lanes are even in CS, and it's so hard to find really where the power of who's winning is coming from. And it's the small things. It's been, like you said, Gate and mid lane. Yeah. Good moves by Short Race to help out Prototype in the bottom lane, which Coast has been reacting to and also taking. So quite even.
And in the 3 best of 5s we've seen this week, we have yet to see a 3-0. Obviously, these teams that have made it here are fairly close in skill, and in this game itself, they're very close in items. I'm actually very curious about Prototype's choice of items here. It looks like he's going Infinity Edge first on Bane, which is very uncommon for most Bane players. You'd see a Blade of the Ruin King early on, but if I had to guess, he's counting on the Blood Boil of Nunu to amp his attack speed and therefore try and multiply his Infinity Edge damage a little bit sooner. But since he's getting the attack damage from Janet anyway, I'm a little bit surprised. But he's going for a more crit-focused build since he will be getting more base attack damage from Janna, and he's actually relying less on the Silver Bolts than most Vanes would, and more just on his mobility, temporary invisibility, and large crits.
Right, because you look over at Shorter Race, and he's got 4 into the Ice Blast, 5 rather now, and 2 in Consume, so he's looking at Blood Boil last. So if the synergy is there, he'll be there a little later. Not as of right now, but he's farming his face off in his environment. Very Double Lift-esque right now, all by himself.
Luckily, even point 1 in Blood Boil gets 25% attack speed and 8% move speed, so it's not to be ignored. But yeah, I absolutely agree. It's not going to kick in until much later. We'll see if there's a little bit of a fight here, though.
See what kicks in right now. Chris coming in, puts on Vengeful Maelstrom immediately. Infinite Duress was already used, so the crowd control really isn't there. They're still able to chase down the kills. Prototype right in the middle of an entire fight. Rock's trying to be the big guy for any skill shots here, and he is able to get out alive. They are not able to turn the fight, however. Too many members of Coast and too healthy.
But Shorter A's caught really out of position right here. Coast trying to push something out, but they're just getting hit by those soldiers again and again.
They got 1 minute coming up onto the Dragon, so grabbing this position will be good, at least with wards, and they will be able to come back. Summoner spells pretty much blown right now just on Rule 18 and Sheep, so everybody else, they can do some good damage and easily get themselves in a pretty tricky situation with that escape to be had. 17 minutes on the clock, very low in kills from what we've been seeing from a lot of the teams, and it looks like there's a lot of respect being paid here as these fights come up too. Teams aren't just diving in one after the other trying to get revenge kills for each other. They might lose one, and they're playing it smart this time. Seen a lot this weekend where teams just kind of fall into the trap of a fight.
I think the bloodbath could still be coming. There's a strange little mid-game that's been happening,
This is true.
specifically after the first Dragon, and because Baron isn't up until 20 minutes, teams are a little bit lost as to what to do sometimes, and we end up just seeing them farming a whole bunch, and then they get a whole bunch of action to do. Dragon number 2, though, looks like it's going to Final 5. Let's see if Coast can stop this one, but walking through a choke point against Azir is nearly impossible, in my opinion.
Very scary stuff. Throws up that Emperor's Divide. The team can also get a bit of movement speed if they cross through it. The damage now to Chris, but Rux also taking the same as the top laners go back and forth. It is going to be Rux that falls as his passive. Trying to do more. A snipe on the backside. Prototype will be offering no more DPS to this fight. Jess is taking a little bit of damage and aggro from his arcane shift, but they're going to be able to get out safe without that dragon damage on them. And a very nice fight once again. 2 for none here. Jess is pulling out some shots.
Yeah, I really feel like that was a lack of coordination by Final 5. They have the Nunu. They have the control and the choke point to damage Coast if they are going to jump through. I feel like they should have stayed on the Dragon, finish it, allowed Azir to zone, and then fight afterwards, because what they ended up doing worked out terribly for them. They took a bunch of damage from the Dragon. They half peeled off. They pushed up far enough that Impaler was going to be in infinite duress range. He got that off. They jumped around the Emperor's Divide because of their sneaky mobility, and they took everything. They got a nice fight, and now they can still get the dragon afterwards.
Definitely an easy fight to
Steal.
see, if you will. There it is. He's going to chomp down the steal from Shorter Ace, but can he get out? We just saw him go down, so this is a valiant attempt by him to pretty much make up for that as he comes back from spawn. He does so, gets his team the dragon, and it means a lot more now in 420.
Wow. So a very
two
interesting
now.
exchange of events. Yeah, exactly. 2 dragons, but a team that is behind in goal.
That's that, right.
We have to keep in mind now, since we are on the 420 patch, they have increased minion damage now, as well as the attack damage and ability power. So gold-wise, they're actually very even, which will make future dragon contests very even as far as relative power of the teams.
That's one thing that's just we were talking about is really where's the power coming from, and sometimes you'll just see it come from that one guy who did well in his lane because they got those 2 dragons and the team has been controlling. It's very hard to see power right now. Coast just found a little bit of their own, taking down final 5 and 2 kills there. Rux 0-1-0, so he can still stay top, do good for himself. Actually he's going to be 0-2-0
He's
in
got
just a
away.
second. He might have to. He's still pointed at the wall, and he's going to be popped immediately. But the infinite duress goes off. They're going to get a quick kill here. What is the team doing now? They're going to chase up to the top lane. Actually, Rux stays alive. And they don't push the mid lane. They don't push bottom. They do have Prototype getting a little bit of wave pressure down, but it's all about the skirmish right now coming in for Ghost.
Scion is so hard to kill. He is really, really just a monstrous tank, and especially against this team. He's going to be building so much damn armor. Since it is a double AD composition, and it's not one of the quirky double ADs that actually does magic damage. They're just all physical damage, and it's not like Maokai packs that big of a punch. It will be very hard for Coast to get through the front line of Final 5. Not only do they have the Rux and the Nunu that will be able to stack armor, they also have the Azir soldiers and the Emperor's Divide. So that last fight we saw was Coast getting to the back line, and Prototype, he's going for it.
Oh, that's called a 1v1. Prototype takes Jesses to school real quick in the 80 carry fashion, but Vayne versus Ezreal, you're not long for this world as Ezreal. He got a good few shots off, but he could not get himself to live. They're going to probably get this bottom turret off of this as well.
Yeah, especially not when Vayne starts point blank on you. I think Ezreal would have a chance with the Iceborne if he could start the fight while seeing Vayne, but when he gets snuck up, sneaked up on,
Sneak a snoop.
sneakered up on, just like that, it's not going to work out very well.
They can't get too much pressure on this lane. Coast rotating a bit and adapting to what needs to happen right now, but not getting the kills they want when they rotate. They're only coming at the dragon fights right now, and then they're just kind of forced to back, spend their gold, which isn't bad, but that's where we see the games kind of stall out and nobody's grabbing too much. Rux here trying to do and cause some trouble top lane. The clear from True Shot Barrage only gives him a few minions to work with, and he's gone already anyways. Deep wards trying to be cleared out now. We actually haven't seen too much of the ward game coming into play here because they've all been fighting in the middle of the lanes or at these dragons. So we'll see if Shorter Ace can get that Nunu, get some pink wards in. Well, he has Nunu. We'll see if he can get pink wards in and start creating opportunities.
Prototype's build is really interesting to me. Blood Boil is now at 2 points from Nunu, so it's giving him 30% attack speed. But it looks like he's going to be going Infinity Edge Bloodthirster or potentially a Mercurial Scimitar as a second item for the QSS. But just a Vayne that avoids attack speed and lifesteal for this long is just not very common to see. However, he first picked it, and because they are running it with the Nunu and Janet, he's still going to be hitting for a ton of damage. It's just a really unconventional build.
Can't question 1,400 games. When do you think he figured it out? Be like, I shouldn't buy attack speed at game.
Yeah. Only if I
1300.
play in this specific situation when I'm against these champions.
I'll build Vayne completely different and win the game. 2-2-0. He's got the kills on his team right now. One is also gone to Rule 18. There's the infinite duress. It's on to Gate though. The True Shot Barrage coming in from Jez is able to start and get this fight in favor of Coast. Very nice flayback from Sheep. He's going low as the box is down. Rux very hard to kill, and here it comes. It's going to be the final hour from Prototype. A few shots on. Chris does not go down. Now he's onto him once again, but he stays alive somehow. Must have come from a summoner heal. Actually just got a good shield for himself. and they're able to make it out safely now, dropping Gate. Jez is back and forth with that Iceborne. He's going to be able to go forever on this one. He's pretty much just smiling at Final 5, chasing him right now. The rest of the team, well, I just say Mash is on the other side.
Yeah.
He's saying, if you need an out, I'm right here. We could get this mid turret some damage, but it looks like he's just going to cause some trouble. So it looks like it is going to be Jez is getting out.
What moves there by Jez is having the Merman upgrade and a blue buff made his Mystic Shot so threatening, as well as slowing when he was trying to run away there. And that fight just went all wrong for Final 5. We talked about their front line earlier, and let's actually talk about it from Coast's point of view, because what they need to do, they need to be able to bypass the front line, which they did right here. Gate was right next to Shorter A's and Rux, defeating the purpose of the front line. They immediately went for the squishy target. They killed him immediately. These guys are no threat when there's no damage backing them up, so they have to then wait for Prototype to come in. And a very critical thing happened here. Prototype wasted his first attack on a minion. He could have used that attack for Sheep and then maybe been able to take another kill, or even on Maokai, and they could have at least got one back. But then they weren't able to do that. We saw the aftermath of Jess's kiting away, and the kiting took so long, Impaler has his ultimate yet again with the Dragon up in 10 seconds. This is the Dragon Coast needs to get.
Now it becomes intense for Final 5 to really close that gap if they even want to engage. Somehow Coast is just going to have to start face checking if Final 5 is looking to get the fights that they want. Jez is easily able to stay on the outside with that Iceborne now and just keep hitting it.
What a start.
Now they get into it. This is exactly what they needed. They take down Jez immediately with all of his summoners. Chris is locked up. The box holds Prototype in place for a second. Infinite to rest. The instant turn. The instant takedown as Prototype tunnels in a bit to the kill and gets found on a ward above the Dragon Brush. But at Final 5 still coming out big on that fight. Even though they lost the AD carry, they're able to get this Dragon. This will be number 3 now, and they're slowly building themselves up as they're getting cut down. It's an odd way to play.
A couple of 80 carries straying too far from the nest there, not staying with their protectors. But it is still, as you said, a good fight for Final 5. Prototype got a little crazy at the end, but the catch on Jez's was exactly what they needed.
That's crazy.
They didn't even have position for that Dragon. The fact that they were able to catch Jez's is a huge mistake by Ezreal. That wasn't a steal. He was actually passing it to him. I looked like a steal, though.
Oh!
Yeah.
It did. That
gets
was
me all the time.
on the other side.
It's teamwork.
It's still, it was great timing.
It was. It was fantastic timing. Yeah, taking a look at this time, it was Scion coming in from out of nowhere. Ends up catching Jez and Impaler. Not being able to shift away from a giant flaming Scion is a little bit slow on the reaction time scale, and it ends up costing the fight right there. Obviously, after they lost him, the front line was able to protect properly, unless you leave the front line, which is why Prototype died.
Like I said, they're going to have to face check, and I was going to be like, or Rux is going to have to hit a really good ult, but I'm like, you're going to hear the gong, you're going to shift away. I guess not. He was able to hit everybody on the backside.
You would think all of those things are true.
So they found what they wanted, and that means they can find it again, but it's going to be harder next time. Coast is looking for it. They have the wards they need.
Oh, what a catch.
Rule 18 being solidified once again is that you may die on this one. He actually lives. He negates the rule. It gets negated. Take down Sheep. Prototype getting in, getting a kill. That's another silver rope block. That's the double kill for Vayne. They're going to be able to get crab control on this one too, but actually they're going for Baron first. What can Jez do from the outside? Because right now he's just going to be putting in tickle shots. And Prototype wants to be putting him in the coffin. The last nail isn't there. That's the shot. And he gets an extended triple kill as his team takes down Baron. Final 5 making some moves. Mash trying to do what he can here on the second tier turret in mid.
They continue to take control of the game here. That one was actually Coast forcing the issue, but they overcommitted over a wall, and they weren't dealing about the damage dealers. There's 2 real threats on this Final 5 team. It is Prototype, and it is Gate. And they jump on the Janna, who is a protector in herself, whereas Gate is in the back, and those soldiers do end up hurting. He puts the Emperor's Divide down. They cannot get to them. At the end of the day, they couldn't even finish off Rule 18. But the soldiers did so much damage that by the time Prototype comes in, it's all cleanup. Vayne is the best in those situations. Nunu's able to stop by for the Blood Boil. And then because of the Nunu plus Vayne, the Baron was basically an afterthought. Once again, Jez's gets a little bit too close to Prototype. He needs to be able to land a Mystic Shot before getting into auto attack range. Otherwise, he will die. Just like that. Final 5 in control.
I really confused as to why Coast is giving Final Five these fights in the jungle. Yeah, they thought they had a catch, but you got to realize you're walking into a Nunu and a Azir, so much ability to create a choke point and make it a deadly area, and they do that every time. There's one hook. Huge minions coming in here. You can see the buff coming in from Baron that Final Five has. They don't have too many waves to work. It is in their favor in the bottom, but it's going to start pushing the other way. So they start heading top for now. They're going to clear out the jungle, get some necessary wards for the way back in. Breadcrumb wards on the way out, and wards for the engage. Only a 2,000 gold lead after all this. It seems like Final Five has like taken the game and run with it. But you look at the top of the screen and it says different.
Yeah, but we have to keep in mind 3 Dragon buffs plus the Baron buff. The effective gold that these guys are playing with is, in my opinion, close to a 10,000 gold lead at the moment. Not to mention all the power that is packed into Prototype's vein. That's a 388 attack damage, 461 attack damage once he gets the shield from Janna, which is then amplified with his tumble. It's really a tumble-reliant vein that needs to space his auto attacks to basically blow people up who don't have armor.
And he's still forgoing the attack.
Yeah, at the moment. I think he's going Last Whisper next if we're going to follow his path. But that's because he's literally just relying on Tumble for a lot of his damage amping abilities. And with the Baron buff, they're just going to keep trying to push these turrets. And Pillar wants to get a catch, but it is so hard to get through this team. Whoever he jumps on, Janna shield, Janna ult, Azir ultimate, Nunu snowballs. You just jump into a whole bunch of trouble.
Everybody's got to be able to follow. There's a bit of long-range attack, but like you're saying, everybody's got to be able to follow, and that's one of the deadliest things they could do right now. 3,000 gold lead right now for Final Five. They come out in Game 1 here, the best of 5, quite strong, with a new composition that we have not really seen yet. They finally get their vein. Shorter Ace picks up the Nunu, and it seems like they're able to put things together from the start of this one. Even for Shorter Ace being very lackadaisical in the jungle and not trying to put too much pressure on Impaler, he's definitely able to make moves first and get Prototype that help you needed.
He was still able to maintain objective control, though, which I think is a very important thing. And there's Rux going real fast.
Oh, hey! Almost gets it! Nope, it's going to be the Spell Shield, actually. Doesn't get the decimating hit either. No stun, no slow. A hook in. Rux is huge, though. Not really the guy you want to be hooking in there. And they are able to stay safe. The wave is quite far from here. They're not going to be getting that anytime soon. Top lane looks like it could be something for them. And middle in just a little bit. But right now it's denying Coast pretty much everything. Suck up the resources in the jungle and just kind of string them along. Really learn how they play. Take this time to figure out what they can do to get inside Coast's head and make next game even maybe that much easier.
Yeah, the team comp is really showing in Final Five's favor as of now. The armor stacking by Rux and Shorter Ace is really exposing a vulnerability that Coast built in here, just having AD damage and not being able to snowball the early game. Additionally, Coast put so much focus on shutting down Prototype because it was so blatantly obvious that Final Five was building around this vein. They're like, we have to shut him down. The fact that their first gank actually ended up getting a kill to Prototype and then the shutdown was unable to reach him thereafter has just been a lot of pain. And there's no vision control now, so Dragon number 4 probably going to Final Five.
It just gets even scarier. So much control over the vision. Gate can just throw soldiers up everywhere and even escape with those soldiers. Love the play of Azir. It's great to watch in game at a high level. Gate's been able to bring a little bit of that this weekend. See now, minion waves pushing a bit back in the favor of Coast, but that's only for a second. We're looking for them to put some wards out here, see if they can get themselves a place to get a pick or an objective in their favor. Because right now it's getting tight.
That's exactly it. Try not hooking the tank, and that's a great start. But it's because the front line is so ever-present right now for Final Five. Coast would need to try some flanking maneuvers. They would need to get more wards up. They need a lot of help, actually. But they basically want Final Five to not be as grouped as they are, since the zone control of Azir plus Nunu, as well as the heal they have built in for Vayne, is too much for Coast to handle in a controlled environment. So Coast would actually need a little bit of chaos and split pushing of all things.
Yeah. All right there, Final Five just kind of giving up their blue. They definitely had the ability to control it, so a bit of a mistake there. Coast walks out freely. Jezz gets it for himself. So Final Five definitely needs to realize there's still a chance for Coast to get back in this one. It may look all green on the other side of the map there in their favor, but it's not anywhere near over, and Coast is definitely a team that will stick it out. I was a little scared yesterday when they did do that surrender. It was a kind of early. Granted, they were down quite a bit of gold, but we saw Final Five stick in that game I was talking about, the 40 kills to 20 kill game. It's not over till it's over. We're going to see right now that Coast is playing that mentality. They're trying to get themselves back in this one. So Final Five is able to grab the blue for themselves, so not too bad that they lost theirs. Gate still gets one. And now they're going to try to put some pressure in this bottom lane. Maybe, nope, going back. Not. A lot of teams are doing this. They take a lot, and then they're going to say, you know what, hang on.
Well, here's the thing. Final Five is in so much control of this game. They know they have the new objective control. They've proven that they're able to win these team fights time and time again, and they're one dragon away from 5.
That's
Just
true.
have to restate
That's a
that
good
again
point.
and again. So even though this has been a very subdued game, fairly low in kills, it's on coast to try and force things because Final Five has that secondary win condition, which is probably the 5th dragon.
Yeah. Very good point, chat. It's just so close to being there. Once you get the aspect of the dragon, it's almost impossible to fight. You could even have Coast with Baron right now, and you'd still be looking at probably a Final 5 win there in the skirmish. Clearing out that Baron, actually, as there is 10 seconds left on it. We have a pick ward still for Final 5 down towards the dragon, so they have control over that. If
Trying for
necessary,
something.
that is on the hunt from Sivir, but again, it's just Sion on the front line. Over to the back. Gate gets hit up. Emperor's Divide knocks everybody back, and he uses the Self-Summoner heal. That's 1 kill. Mashmi goes down. You can see Gate from the outside controlling his soldiers. Now getting a double kill. Doesn't even use Shifting Sands to get in the fight. Just commands them from the outside, and the rest of the team now to control. This is where Shorter Race comes into play. The rest of the team's adding the slows. An extended triple kill now coming in for Gate on Azir, and it looks like they may be able to solidify another Baron. Maybe they'll take this one to coast in just a few.
That Azir power getting pretty much 4, maybe even
there's
5.
4.
An extended quadra kill right there. His damage is so indiscriminate of who goes on you. So when they dove him as 2 people and they did not finish him off, he just killed both of them.
And it's just line damage too. So if you're standing next to him, you're going to take the damage. If he's getting another person's getting auto attacked, fantastic play coming out right now. And you have to remember, Gate and the rest of the team just stole that blue back. If they didn't have it, he probably would not have put out that power in that fight.
Yeah.
See that one more time.
This was Coast needing to find a fight. And honestly, their initiation was not that bad. They got onto Gate with 2 people, but Jess's was not able to contribute enough damage. He basically ended up having to dual prototype, which to his credit, he was able to do, but when they pick a Warwick alt target against a 2-threat team, they need to be able to kill both threats. They were able to get 1, they finished off prototype, but they were not able to get Gate. Another catch trying to happen.
One after the other, and they actually get out of that one. It looked like they wanted it. That was the on the hunt, but the Dark Passage quickly to disengage that fight. Coast didn't seem like they exactly wanted it. Maybe not enough vision, but here we're going to have not really a base race, but a base taunt. It looks like they're going for inhibitor turrets on both sides here, Jack.
Yeah, well, against Nunu Azir, I don't think you're winning many base races, especially with the enhanced turret damage. But if you're going to take a chance, because you're down 4 dragons and a Baron, you may as well. But these are Baron minions, a Nunu Azir team, and a Sion. It's not even close, this base race. This is just a base give up.
Oh my gosh, Final 5 choosing the right one. They roll the dice and they get Snake Eyes on it. They're going to come up with game 1, 36 minutes in. Very well fought game against Coast.
Man, yeah, that's one thing